This is Chapter 1 from the book Islamic Thought. Islam is a specific mode of living that is completely distinguished from everything else. It obliges upon Muslims a certain living that has a specific and constant course that does not change or transform. It dictates upon them to comply by this specific mode in such a way that they do not feel tranquility, both intellectually, fikriyan, and emotionally, nafshiyan, and nor they feel with happiness except with this mode. Islam came as a collection of concepts, mafahim, about life. It came as general guidelines, kutudarita, general imports that treat all man's problems in life, where the solution of every problem that occurs to man is actually derived from them. It made all of that based on an intellectual basis, qaida fikriya, under which all the thoughts about life enter, and it is used as a criterion, mikyaz, upon which every detailed thought is measured. It also made the rules, in terms of solutions, thought and opinions, emanate from the aqidah and derived from the general guidelines. It determined the thoughts for man, but it did not restrict his mind, it rather freed it. It restricted his behavior in life with particular thoughts, but it did not restrict man, it rather freed him. Thus, the view of the Muslim towards the worldly life became that of promising hope, a realistic seriousness, and a view that values life with its true measure, in terms that it must be earned and that it is not an objective, nor it is proper to be an objective. So the Muslim strives in the walks of life, earns of the providence, rizq, of Allah, and enjoys the ornaments of Allah that He provided to His servants and also the good forms of rizq. However, he realizes that the dunya is temporary, while the akhirah is the abode of eternity. Rules of Islam came to treat for man the matters of trade as well as the matters of prayers, in a particular way. They also treat the problems of marriage as well as the matters of charity, in a specific way. They demonstrate the matter of property ownership and the matter of its expense, in a certain way. They also detail the supplications, du'ish, and worships, and explain the legal punishments, hudud, capital offenses, jinayat, and the various punishments, yukubat, as well as they explain the chastisement of hell, jahannam, and the felicity of paradise, jannah. They guide him to the form of government, hukum, and its method, in a specific fashion. They also direct him to the personal/self-acting aspiration to apply the rules in quest of the pleasure of Allah. They direct him to the relationship of the state with the rest of the states, peoples and nations, as they direct him to carry the dawah for mankind. They oblige him to acquire the elevated attributes, as rules, ahkam, coming from Allah, and not as good attributes among people. Thus Islam came to regulate all man's relationships with himself and with people the same way it regulates his relationship with Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of that in the same system of thought and treatment. Man, thus, became obliged to proceed in this worldly life by a specific motivation, in a specific and determined path and for a defined and designated goal. Islam obliges people to restrict themselves to this path alone exclusively. It warned them of painful chastisement in the akhirah, as well as of strict punishment in the dunya, where one of these two will inevitably fall on them if they deviated from this path, even a hair breadth. Accordingly, the Muslim comes to proceed in this life in a particular way, and live in a certain way, within a specific mode by virtue of his embracement of the aqidah of Islam, and the obligation of his obedience to the commands and prohibitions of Allah that restrict him with the rules of Islam. This specific type of living within a particular understanding of life and specific conduct in a defined path, is inevitably imposed upon every Muslim and all Muslims. Hence Islam is not a spiritual deen, religion, only, and nor theological or priestly concepts. It is rather a particular way of life, which every Muslim and all Muslims must have their life be in accordance with this way alone.